Plus 49.
Welcome back to another edition of Plus 49. My name is Anushree Dirangane, and I'm so happy to have you with us for another edition in this show, now that it's summer. This week, we're diving into Germany's latest migration debate. This is starting with Education Minister Karin Prien's suggestion to introduce a classroom quota for children with a migration background, and then ending up with Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt, who is pushing for a harder EU migration line. And this is weird because just as a new data shows that asylum applications in Germany have dropped by over 40%. But it's not all about politics and policy. We're also got something for the daydreamers, because in our cultural segment, we're going to be talking about castles. From King Ludwig's fantasy fortresses to medieval strongholds and Baroque palaces, we want to explore what makes Germany's castle such enduring icons of power, romance, and escape. And our guest this week is therapist Anushree from Talking Distant. She shares insights on mental health, identity, and how migration shapes our inner lives. So whether you're tuning in during dinner or relaxing with an Aperol in the pack, stay with us. We've got some stories, conversations, and plenty of summer vibes coming your way. Let's take a look this week on the biggest stories across Germany. We're going to be starting with a flurry of political debate around migration and education. And this is because Germany's education minister, Karin Prien, she's from the CDU, she has sparked some controversy by suggesting a cap on the number of children with migration background in school classrooms. And in a televised interview, she floated of a possibility quota of 30 to 40%, citing Denmark as inspiration. Her key argument: all children need strong German skills by the time they enter schools. She immediately got some backlash. Integration Commissioner Natalie Pavling from the SPD dismissed this idea, arguing that Germany needs better funded school, not quotas. The Teachers Association also pushed back, saying that such a model is unworkable, especially in diverse cities where nearly half of all students have migrant roots. Meanwhile, Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt from the CDU is calling for a tougher, more unified EU migration policy. He was speaking in the Bundestag, where he criticizes Germany's migratory isolation in Europe and outlined new border measures, including asylum restrictions and a rollback of fast-track naturalizations. That said, migration numbers are already down. A new EU Commission report shows that asylum applications in Germany dropped by 43% in the first half of this year, pushing Germany to third place behind Spain and France. Analysts credit stricter border enforcement, seasonal shifts, and new EU-North Africa agreements. And in lighter news, Germany has just been named the fourth best country in the world for work-life balance, according to the new ranking by HR platform remote.com. The study looked at factors like paid vacation days, healthcare access, average working hours, and parental leave. Germany scored especially well thanks to its generous sick leave policy, strong labor protections, and relatively short 33 hours average work week. It also earned high marks on LGBTQ+ inclusivity. Only New Zealand, Ireland, and Belgium ranked higher. You can find more on all of the stories on plus49.de. Germany is famous for its castles, more than 25,000 in fact. Scattered across hills, rivers, cities, and forests, these architectural marvels reflect over 1,000 years of European history. From ancient fortresses to romantic fairy tale palaces, they are not only tourist magnets, but powerful symbols of Germany's past. And now, some of the country's most iconic castles have received global recognition. This year, King Ludwig II, four Bavarian castles, Neuschwanstein, Linderhof, Herrenchiemsee, and the Königshaus am Schachen have officially been added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Ludwig II, who is sometimes called like the fairy tale king, ruled Bavarian in the late 19th century and was known for his reclusiveness lifestyle and extravagant building projects. He envisioned castles not just as a royal residency, but as a dreamscape's fantastical retreats inspired by mythology, art, and opera. Neuschwanstein actually is the most famous one because it inspired Disney's Sleeping Beauty castle. But Ludwig's palaces were more than personal hideaways. They represented a unique fusion of architectural ambition, technical innovation, and artistic imagination, now recognized as cultural treasures of humanity. Yet Germany's love of castles runs much deeper. The country's castle history begins with the early Roman fortifications, followed by medieval strongholds built for defense and power. During the Renaissance and Baroque eras, castles evolved into lavish residences for princes and kings. Today, they range from crumbling ruins to fully restored estates, many open to the public as museums, hotels, or concert venues. What keeps drawing people to these places? Well, it's not just the grandeur or the history, it's the atmosphere. Castles invite us to take a step into another world, a mix of fantasy, heritage, and timeless elegance. Whether it's the sweeping views from Berg Eltz, the Rococo splendor of Schloss Sanssouci, or the mysterious corridors of the Heidelberg Castle, each one offers a unique window into the past. So if you're planning a summer trip, why not trade your Airbnb for a torrent? Germany's castles aren't just monuments, they're an invitation to dream. So you're in a very strange new place and you need to talk to someone about what you're experiencing. And sometimes you don't find that someone that can help you. And then it comes this part of, oh, I should maybe get a therapist that can help me navigate better my emotions and what I'm living at the moment. But then you remember you're in Germany and you have absolutely no idea how the system works. And you also have absolutely no idea who speaks your language. And for that, someone had a great solution, and that's Anushree. Hello, Anushree. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Sigrid. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. As far as I know, it's summer in Berlin, which is already a good thing. We waited for it for so long, so let's go out. And we should have had this conversation on the, I don't know, in a Späti with a couple of beers or something like that.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's maybe not the easiest way at the moment, but we're here and we're talking in distance. And talking distance is also your own company. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. Talking distance is something that has come up after 10 years of doing therapy and 10 years of doing therapy in three different countries and meeting people from all across cultures and understanding, okay, so therapy looks tiny bit different when I'm working with people who are coming from different cultures into a different culture. So if I am in a different culture and my client is also from a different culture, therapy looks a bit different. There are more nuances into how systems come into place for mental health and what concerns show up for a person look tiny bit different, not that different. Mental health is universal, mental health concerns are universal, but how do they show up for someone who's living outside that culture looks tiny bit different.
Is mental health still something that people don't talk about?
So, most definitely. And also at the same time, not as much as we could see maybe a few years ago. So, in the last 10 years, especially with TikTok, Instagram, people have learned therapy speak, the way we say it, really well. We know the words called as boundaries, we know the words called as accountability, responsibility. We know all the therapy speak words, but I wonder how that translates into stigma against mental health, especially in the diaspora, especially people who are immigrants. We carry the cultures in a static form from when we leave our countries. And if it was a stigma at that time when we left, there is a high chance that we still believe that it's a stigma even now, that it's a weakness even now, that you need some support. Yeah, so we do see a lot of Instagram and TikTok videos, which we find very, very amazing. That, okay, there is awareness that is great. But I wonder how that translates into us taking care of ourselves, right? Us showing up for ourselves in a way that it's okay if I'm having a crisis right now. It's okay if I'm stressed right now. It's okay if I don't know how to deal with this difficult situation. And I wonder how much space we make for that.
Being vulnerable is something that the migration makes for you.
Yeah.
That you suddenly realize that everything is new and you're so vulnerable in every single way. My first breakdown was at an IKEA. And I never thought that that would happen. Like, oh, it's just a store. But then you go there and you have absolutely no idea how things work. And I started really, I just had the biggest meltdown I ever had. And I didn't know how to explain it. Because for someone who has grown up with IKEA, it's kind of like, why are you melting down? It's just putting two things together. I'm like, no, it's not. For me, it wasn't. But I didn't had anybody to talk to. So, yeah, talking distance was something that I would definitely have benefit a couple of years ago when I arrived in Germany. How has been your experience in creating this in Germany and trying to get out there and saying to the migrants, hey, you have meltdowns in the middle of the street just because you don't know what to eat? It's normal.
Yeah. And in the middle of the street, if you are looking at bratwurst and thinking of all the yummy other food that you are missing back home and
That
crying,
hurts.
why? Why am I here?
That hurts so much, actually, it does.
Yeah, because you find bratwurst at a corner shop, but you might not find what was there in your corner shops back home. And for so many of us, food is our love language. Food is how we connect with people. Food is how we feel loved. And not having that connect is something that is crucial for our mental health sometimes. And like one of the favorite things that we talk, especially in the Asian diaspora, is you might have calls with your parents every day. You might not talk with them about deep stuff, but the one thing you will talk about, what did you eat today? And somehow that becomes such a huge culture part, right? Like it is important for you. So if you cry at IKEA, even at their food stand, even if it's amazing, makes sense. If it doesn't fit, it makes sense.
So, Anushree, what type of food did you just eat that make you feel like home?
So I usually find the common part between a German and an Indian is something that is potatoes. You find them everywhere, and Indians have made potatoes into 20 different dishes just in one tiny city, and we have 20 every 20 kilometers. So I think I find a lot of comfort in different types of potatoes. And yesterday I made potatoes kind of stew from India, and that felt like, this is home. This feels amazing. But generally, the thing I miss a lot in food is the street food that we find in India, and you have it at every street corner. You don't get it here that easily, and it's something I miss very dearly and deeply. Also, chai, which is the chai tea latte you might find in Starbucks, but much better. And something that I miss a lot. I think if there was just one chai shop in the city I'm living in, I think my life would be drastically better immediately. Like, immediately.
I think we can talk an hour long or even more about food. As a Mexican, I always get also the question like, where do you get good Mexican food? And I'm like, okay, you have to go here to get the best horchata, but then you have to go here to get the best tacos, and then you kind of have your own route about it. But we're talking about more our mental health, of course. Happy belly makes a happy person.
Actually, very true.
When I go into your website, I see that you have a free consultation.
Hmm.
So walk me through a little bit about, so I woke up one day and I said, yes, I need some help. And I go to talking distance and I see this beautiful page and it says free consultation. What can I expect after it?
So, free consultation is basically one way of understanding whether you and your therapist might be a good fit or no. The reason it also exists is because we all are going through our own chaos, and the way we deal with it might not be the way that our therapist perceives that problem. And our free consultation is basically a way for you to gauge whether your problem is understood in the way you understand it by the therapist in front of you. Sometimes we might have an understanding of a problem. So, for example, the classic example for a lot of Desi population, Desi is like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. One of the criterias over there is we have something called as arranged marriages in the Desi community. If you go to a therapist and you are feeling like, oh, my parents are pushing me to go into the arranged marriage right now, a therapist who's maybe not that aware of the cultural nuances might actually interpret it as, oh, this person is being forced to get married. It's not they are getting forced to get married, they're getting just forced into the same way it looks like in most cultures is, why are you not finding a girl, why are you not finding a man, like
Like
it's
my parents every second day. Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
exactly. Exactly. It's the same talk, but just when it comes to arranged marriages, it looks a bit different. And this is how we make space for you in the free consultation. Like, is the therapist in front of you someone who will understand your concerns, someone who will work through the concerns in the way that you want to work with it? And do you feel the vibe? Basically, it's a vibe check. And we believe that that shouldn't cost you money. You shouldn't have to waste 3 sessions, 5 sessions of expensive therapy costs on understanding whether you're a good fit or no. And that free consultation is for that, so that you know that, oh, I vibe with this person. Maybe I can give it a try.
Starting with trying, I think it's the best way. So we're talking with Talking Distance creator Anushree. We're talking about what it's like to be in this part of the cultural shock of life. And may I ask you something personal regarding what was your first big cultural shock when you arrived in Germany?
Ah, I'll be extremely honest. It was water. Like, I asked for water and I had to choke when I received that water because I was not expecting Sprudelwasser. I'm sorry, when I say water, I just mean
Water.
normal water, like the rest of the world understands it maybe. But that was the biggest cultural shock, to ask for water and not get water.
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, we have our Ask a German segment, and I'm very impressed that we've been doing this for over 55 episodes now, and we haven't had one single question repeated. That means there's still a lot of things to discover from Germany and the cultural shock of it. And, and of course, for you as a therapist, as you were saying before, is that we are kind of in this moment where we have more access to mental health. But on the other side, people with migration background or that are migrating are kind of still not very well understood. And this is kind of, I think, a pain point as well, because how can you, I mean, even if you look into the literary part, you look for books that talk about psychology of international diasporas or how you're just moving, and you don't really find a lot of things. And for me, it has been kind of complicated because I believe that we're kind of the first generation that we move abroad and we still have a lot of contact with our hometown, which makes it rather complicated to just kind of live here in the moment and be 100% in Germany, because we can just open up our Instagram and we can find everything that's happening in our home country. Isn't that a little bit more trickier if we always have this connection to our home country?
It can be trickier if you, at some point, don't work through it, right? If that duality becomes need for having only one. So, for example, you have this beautiful life of two ends. One is Germany, one is where you come from. And for some reason, there is this need that only one can be right, only one can be true, and I need to hold on to only one, and both can't exist together. That's when it can become tricky. But I think as global citizens, we have this unique opportunity to make space for both. We can still have our very much cultural roots and our lived experience roots coexisting together. They don't need to be different plants planted in different countries. They can just be in the same pot. No, they can coexist. It's okay. So only trickier if we make it in some spaces.
That is so important to acknowledge that you can be both. And you somehow you needed to have that also. You need to
Yeah,
understand that you're not going to be taking my other nation out, but I'm embracing this one, and it's okay.
yeah. And the guilt that comes with it, right? The guilt that comes with either missing out on so many things, or not having had enough privileges, or now having some privileges, or not having the community privilege, but maybe some different privileges. And this is always going to be a mix and match. There are always going to be pros and cons to both your decisions of whether you are embracing both or you want to go back home and embrace your home culture. It's always going to be complicated, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you just have a more fuller cup to understand your life.
Before we leave you, even if we don't want to, but at some point we do have to close this conversation for the moment being. Can you tell us like your one or two tips you would give to people that are kind of in this moment with they're troubling about maybe their mental health, their being here? Is there, besides going to talking distance and checking out what they can do for you, is there any other tip that you would give us to face this a little bit better?
Yeah. So, especially for those living in the Germany, Belgium, Netherlands belt, right? Because this is a belt which is usually more gray in general in the world. And the one thing that I have noticed over the last few years is having a mental preparation map in November for how January is going to be. It's not going to be bad, but it's going to be okay. You will survive when all the lights get shut down by in at the end of December, and the world just feels much more gray. It's much more darker. Have your plan in November about what will you do in January. Make plans with friends. Make your appointments with, oh, I'm going to go for a dinner with this friend on this day. I think we don't give enough importance to socialization and community when we are struggling, because we feel like I'm just so overwhelmed right now. I don't want to do anything and I would rather not, right? If I do this, I might get more overwhelmed, so I won't do it. But I think that's not the best approach all the time. Sometimes it might work, but maybe not always. And always have your January plan in November. That's the one very big tip that I usually give all the students who are coming into Germany, or all the international population who just migrates at the end of September or in October, and everything looks exciting. Oh my God, there are so many things happening until December end, and suddenly in January, the world is extremely silent, extremely gray, and you don't know what to do with your life, right? So have a plan.
Have a playlist, I would also add to that.
Yeah,
If you have a
exactly.
playlist of the songs that pick you up, that also works out.
Yeah, sing it out, dance it out. It helps.
Anushree, I actually have a lot of questions regarding arranged marriage. Sometimes I think that I might have it might have been better for me with that, but I come from another culture. But you were talking about this as a part of a cultural thing for you. How many therapists are you?
So currently we are five therapists, but we are slowly going into expansion in this month onwards, and we are hoping to be 10 by end of July. And yeah, we are hoping to expand into working with more university students, working with more businesses to give supportive environment, especially in terms of multicultural therapy, because most of our therapists are themselves living a life of being from a diaspora and working with people in diaspora. So any all immigrants, expats, all are generally where what we end up going through as a mental health concern in general. So this is something that we are hoping to look at with more specialized care, with more attention to detail over there, because I think it's important that this topic gets talked about. We don't have enough research as well into how, for example, mental health for global citizens, immigrants, or expats looks like. If we don't have the research, it's very difficult to then do your own work and then give therapy which is appropriate for the population that you're working with. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to specialize in this area and give specialized treatment for people who are in the space.
How can we find you?
So we are there on our website is there, which is called Talking Distance. We are on Instagram. We are on. Oh, we also recently launched our first YouTube self-help course on stress management. So you can also find us on YouTube and go through the self-therapy course over there on stress management. And are we there somewhere else on Facebook? Obviously, but I don't know if many people access Facebook, but those who do should look for us on Facebook as well.
And everybody is welcome to ask for a free consultation.
Yes, yes. And very soon we are also expanding into Spanish, Portuguese, and German. So we are currently in process of contracting therapists who are speaking these three languages. So hopefully those will be additional languages that we can support you in.
Anushree, thank you so much for this. This is super insightful. And maybe in the future, we can keep talking about your next steps. And once you have not only 10 more people, but maybe 50 and
Yes.
all languages available.
Yeah, most definitely.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Sigurd. Thank you so much.
Plus 49. Ask a German.
So, you know how when you are learning the language in not Germany, right? When you are learning German outside of Germany, and they tell you that the answer to Dankeschön is Bitteschön. And somehow, when you come to Germany, people will keep your cup of coffee on the table. And before you say Dankeschön, they would say Bitteschön while keeping the cup, right? If you are asking them for something, they will do it by saying Bitteschön. And for the longest period of time, for almost 3 years of my life, I used to think, oh my God, am I supposed to say Dankeschön as soon as I am starting to give them things? What time is the right time to say Dankeschön so that I don't get this passive aggressive Bitteschön thrown at me as if I am a mannerless person who doesn't say Dankeschön in the right time. I struggled with it so much. And recently I was playing with a 3-year-old and she was giving me a very imaginary coffee. And she said Bitteschön while giving it. And I was like, okay, so there is something happening here that I'm missing. I don't understand what, but I'm missing something. What is Bitteschön when it's not followed after Dankeschön? That's my question.
I have definitely also noticed this before, and at first glance, it might seem like the response is coming before the thanks, as if someone answered a question you haven't even asked yet. But in German culture, this isn't considered strange at all. In fact, it reflects a deeply ingrained rhythm of politeness and, yes, as always, a touch of German efficiency. See, Germans are taught very early to say bitte, danke, Entschuldigung. These aren't just polite words, they're everyday social tools. And the exchange of danke and Bitteschön is so familiar that it becomes almost automated. Saying Bitteschön while handing something over, be it a coffee, change at the supermarket, or directions on the street, is like offering the gesture with a verbal bow. It's not really dependent on whether the person has already said danke, or even will. It simply accompanies the act of giving, a small self-contained moment of politeness. So when someone says Bitteschön first, they're not rushing you. They're just closing their half of the transaction with courtesy. Think of it like a gift. Here you go, Bitteschön. Then your danke comes as a natural follow-up. A thank you for the gesture said after you received it, which is how it works in German. Saying danke before the gesture might actually feel a bit off. So don't stress the order too much. It's not a call and response that needs perfect timing. It's more like two sides of a handshake. Bitteschön when something is given and danke when it's received. And yes, it's also a little bit about efficiency. Because if everyone already knows what you say and when, why not keep it smooth and simple? So next time someone says Bitteschön as they pass you your coffee, just smile, take it, and say danke right on cue.
Thank you so much for spending part of your week with us here on Plus 49. From fiery debates over migration to our dreamy deep dive into the world of German castles, we really hope you are walking away with some information and inspiration. A special thank you to our guest Anushree from Talking Distance. Thanks so much for opening up about the emotional layers of expat life, the mental health challenges that can come with it, and the healing power of food. If you enjoy the show, feel free to share it with your friends or fellow expat friends, and follow us on Instagram for more stories, updates, and behind-the-scenes moments. You can also catch up on past episodes and read much more on plus49.de. We'll be back next week with more voices, views, and vibes from across Germany. Until then, take care, stay curious, enjoy your summer y hasta la próxima.